Hi, it's me, the Brainy Bee. As someone with a brain injury, I have a lot of mental health issues. Things like ADHD, anxiety, and kind of just a lot of confusion and memory loss. But what I want to talk to you about is anxiety. Anxiety can come in the form of fear, and you can often not know, is this a fear, an anxiety, or something I can do something about, right? So, what you want to do is take whatever situation is really bothering you, keeps replaying in your head, you have fears about whatever it may be, and take that thing and ask yourself, can I do something about this? And if you cannot, then that is a fear or an anxiety. So, what you want to do is pivot to a different thing that you have anxiety about, but that you can do something about. Okay, it's very difficult to go from a state of anxiety or panic to a state of serenity, like that. It just doesn't happen. You need something in between to help you get there. So, say I'm worried about the cats I have dying. It's very sad and it's very real. But can I do anything about it? No. So that's a fear and that's an anxiety. And if I let that keep playing in my head, it will rob me of all the love and goodness I have to experience with those cats. So, what I do is think of something I can do something about, like school. I'm really anxious about starting school in the fall, and there is plenty I can do about that. Oh my gosh. So, to get from being in a horrible place in my mind to laying in a hammock on the beach for meditation, I need to think about something I can do something about in between. And that really helps me get over a panic attack. So, if you can do something about your fear or anxiety, then do it. Maybe make a plan. Maybe start by just writing it down. What are you anxious about? Write that down. Write down the worst possible outcome and how you would deal with that. Then, more importantly, think about the best circumstance that could come as a result of this anxiety. Think about best case scenario, because then you'll start preparing yourself for a more beneficial mind frame. If you start seeing everything as how could this become something good in my life, then you will find all the lessons from all the negative things and grow as a human. I really hope this helps in any capacity. I'm sending so much virtual love to anyone struggling with head injury or mental health injury issues. And little Miss Olive, of course, has to come in and say hello. And we just wish you the best in everything. And so, thank you for supporting this tiny itty bitty channel. I'm a brain injury survivor, and I want to help other people with the same issues and just with mental health in general, because mental health matters. I don't care who you are. And so many concussions and head injuries just go completely undiagnosed, unassessed, and undealt with. So we are all humans. We all have tender, fragile brains in our skulls, no matter how hard we try to play life. And, that's okay. So when you can sit with your thoughts and be able to understand, okay, this is fear and anxiety and it is dominating the goodness in my life, then you can understand that those thoughts are just to be observed, not identified with, not acted upon. If it's fear, just acknowledge it. You're allowed to feel fear, but then let it go and try to do something you can do something about. So, I would recommend having other things that are helpful for distracting you, like drawing or writing or just going to a park. because getting your body and mind out of your current circumstance or setting can be all that you need to kind of switch that switch in your head on or off and get you going in the direction that you want. So if your surroundings are keeping you down, try to get out and do something with your hands that will take your mind off what you're doing, which is why I really like writing or drawing. Sometimes audiobooks can be really helpful. I love anything that has to do with self compassion because the negative things we tell ourselves in our heads every day, all day, usually it's just us trying to survive. It's just this fight or flight that we're have so ingrained in us from caveman times that it's very difficult for the brain to decipher the difference between a real situation that's very dangerous and anxiety or fear. So, to be able to step back and see these thoughts play out in your mind and not be overcome by them is a huge step, and it's really difficult to do that. So, I hope that by writing it out, figuring out what the worst case scenario could be, figuring out what the best case scenario would be, and start focusing on what the best situation would be for you, because you start focusing on what you actually want, then you'll start getting the things that you want. But if you let anxiety and fear hold you back, it doesn't necessarily mean that those fears and anxieties are going to happen, but you're going to have a horrible time just getting through the day. So I hope that you can find some peace in your own mind and understand that these anxieties are just ingrained in us to protect us, but they're not necessary in order to stay safe. You keep yourself safe by keeping your mind safe from negative thinking. So stop beating yourself up. Be honest with yourself and don't be so self-centered. We can be so miserable by just thinking about our emotions and thinking about how we feel and thinking about how we wish we could be happier and blah, 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 blah. It can completely rob you of any happiness that you're trying to find. These anxieties that would generally, protect you from a tiger or a lion in the wild or something like that does not need to translate to traffic, okay? So it's really important to not let your cortisol levels get really high, and that's what happens when we're under stress. Cortisol can play a horrible toll on your body. So I highly recommend that every chance you get to overcome an anxiety by either doing something about it or pivoting to something you can do something about, then you'll be a much happier and more peaceful person. I would also say that anxiety is far worse in the middle of the night. There's nothing you can do about it at that time. The only thing you can do is write it down and maybe write out what you might like to do. But I really recommend having a journal next to your bed. So if you wake up in the middle of the night and you have something that just is bothering you, you can write it down, and then you can look at it in the morning with a better point of view and really understand, okay, these are the things that keep recurring to me at night. These are the things that are keeping me up at night, right? And then you can start to notice, hey, are these any things I can do anything about? Or are they just anxieties that are keeping me from sleeping and then being a more miserable person the next day because you didn't get any rest? And the anxieties are still there. That's the thing, is these anxieties, they don't just go away, but you have to learn to recognize them. Because your thoughts, they don't just leave. You can't stop yourself from thinking, but you can change the way you react to thoughts, and you can learn to not identify with your thoughts and emotions by using this pivot technique, if you will. I honestly, my caregiver is the person who, and my partner, who told me about this. I didn't read about it anywhere. I don't think it's an actual form of psychology, but I'm calling it the pivot method because it's extremely helpful for me when I'm having an all out panic attack to pivot to some other anxiety that I can do something about. So I appreciate you listening to me, and I'm super interested if you have any comments. Would love to hear what you have to say, and maybe tell your friends about the Brainy Bee. And I hope that you have a beautiful day. All right. Take care of your mind and be sure to give yourself a hug. Bye.